Hello, everybody. Welcome to the eCommerce MasterPlan Virtual Summit, Day 2. Yes, we've made it to Day 2. And today is going to be packed with the tips and strategies you need to achieve your customer retention goals this year and beyond. I'm Chloe Thomas, host of and the creator of, and she can't even speak. She's so excited about what's coming today. I am the host and creator of the eCommerce MasterPlan and Keep Optimizing podcast. That's what I was trying to tell you. And also the author of several books on e-commerce. And apologies if you were here all day yesterday. Well, no, because you had a lot of great content, but you have to hear me say this quite a few times. So apologies. It's going to carry on today. I'm also the host of this summit, which means it's down to me to make sure it's an event that gives you the top quality of advice and ideas you want out of every single session. I've worked with every one of our speakers to get the content spot on, and I'll be with you in every session, making sure we get every last drop of a great advice from them. We are starting Customer Retention Day with a big topic and a great guest too. Greg Zakowicz is the Director of Content at Omnisend. He used to run his own e-commerce business, just like you guys out there. Then in 2011, he shifted focus full-time to help other retailers improve their email marketing and customer communication. So he really, really knows what he's talking about. And we are talking today about one of the very first steps to improving customer retention, post-purchase messaging. So let's bring Greg here. Hey, Greg, how are you?
I'm doing well, Chloe. How are you?
I'm good, and I'm really glad we are starting off Customer Retention Day talking about post-purchase messaging, because it's one of my favorite parts of customer retention, partly because I think a lot of people aren't doing it, but also because I think a lot of people got a bit front of mind about it all as we've been going through the pandemic. So I know this session's going to help a lot of people. So should we dive straight into it?
We should. And, you mentioned it's one of your favorite parts of customer retention. It's one of my favorite parts about email marketing, to be honest with you. So, real quick, just for the audience, if you're unfamiliar with Omnisend, because I think it sets the stage for why I'm talking about this today. We are an email and SMS marketing platform built specifically for e-commerce brands. Our whole motto is to help companies increase their sales and not the workload. And with the presentation today, as short as it is, I hope to convey ways we can do that. We can increase the sales, and understanding that you probably have limited resources and limited time to execute things. So we want to help you decrease that workload. So why is post-purchase one of my favorite topics? Well, think about when you buy something. It's probably happened to all of us. We buy something, and then the next day or 2 days later, we start getting promotional emails from that brand again. Hey, buy this, buy this, buy this. And there's not a lot of thought given to it. And what happens, whether consciously or subconsciously, very often is that your purchase experience was just fine, and you need another product that company sells, but there's no affinity there, or there's a lack of affinity, and you might buy from them, you might buy from somewhere else. And that customer retention strategy they've used, which is really no strategy at all, doesn't work in your favor. This is very common with e-commerce brands, and I find post-purchase messaging to be super unutilized in email marketing circles. So the question becomes, how do we start a post-purchase series or optimize what we currently have, but do it at scale with limited resources? This is where marketing automation comes in. So this chart you're looking at here, this comes from a 2020 benchmark report we put out. We looked at over 30 billion emails sent. And what you can see from here is obviously up and to the right? Conversion rates are skyrocketing. In 2020, we had 29% of all email orders sent through Omnisend generated from automated messages. It accounted for less than 2% of emails sent. So when we talk about the value and the potential of marketing automation to increase your sales and not your workload because it's automated, it's certainly there. Now, everything's got to work together. You can't just live on automation. You can't just live on promotional emails, and you can't just live on SMS. These things need to be complementary. And this is where it happens. And you might look at the campaigns in SMS and go, man, those things really aren't performing well. It's because automation is doing so well last year. Email promotional emails and SMS conversion rates increased both 100% year over year as well. So you can see how drastic the automated messages are. Now, if we break that down into post-purchase cycle, and we look at that specifically, we see 34% open rate. It's one of the best open rates of all automated messages. Here's really the meat and bones of it. Last year, 18% conversion rate for post-purchase messages. And if you think about what that means, automated message to a purchaser, and you get an 18% conversion rate for those people that interact with that message, that every purchase there is now a repeat purchase. You're starting to build that brand affinity. So whether it is something short term, whether it's a complimentary item, whether it's more items, it's a repeat purchase. So going from 1 to 2 is tough. Going from 2 to 3 becomes really profitable for you. And this is where post-purchase comes in. And I like to think about emails very similar to an unboxing experience. Why do brands do unboxing experiences? Well, it's part of that purchase experience. And what makes you feel good is the excitement. People still love your brand, right? And the screenshots of the right there, Toac chocolate, luxury chocolate. If you ever get them, I recommend it. Splurge, nice gift there, but it's delicious. But the unboxing experience is unparalleled. It's great. Well, think about how you can do a quote unquote unboxing experience with your email marketing or your SMS marketing. The whole goal of an unboxing is to make the purchase experience better, to make something that you want to tell your friends or take a picture and share on Instagram about, right? You're enhancing the post-purchase experience. So if you think about, okay, how do we create a virtual unboxing experience with post-purchase messaging? That is what's going to guide you there. So I'm going to walk through just a couple very small, very simple ways we can start creating post-purchase messaging, optimize them, that will ultimately lead to some sort of customer retention for you, coupled with a couple small tips along the way as well. So bar none, if you're doing nothing else, do this one. Take this message away from this program and implement it today. A simple thank you message, a bounce back. Sometimes they call them 1 to 2 days after someone makes a purchase, send them an email and say, hey, thanks for your purchase. Let us know if there's anything we can do for you, right? You can have a call to action to shop now. You can have a call to action to customer service. You can have a call to action to an Instagram page. You can have no call to action like this example for baking steel. Very simple text, branded logo there. And this one came from the owner of the company, Andrews, right? Email address there. So if I want to contact them. Now this says 35% open rate from our metrics from last year. Here's your tip. I can get you above 60% every single time here. Subject line, thank you for your recent order. You'll get a 60% open rate every single time with this message. This starts to build that brand affinity. So you can see here, there's not a whole lot of creative. You can use images, but it's not necessary to get this out and start thanking customers. So I bought a baking steel. I'm going to walk through the rest of the series today. Very similar to like a pizza stone, if you think about, but it's made with steel and it's a lot heavier. Now here is really where it gets good. We send the thank you message. Very simple. You can send it every time. You can put an incentive. You can not put an incentive. I mentioned. But think about, we want to turn retention. 0 purchases to 1 purchase, 1 purchase to 2, 2 to 3. Very simple automation. How about a split? Did they purchase for the first time? Send them down with one message, purchase a second time or beyond, send them a slightly different message, slightly tweaked. And this is how you start to build different messaging, a better customer purchase experience with very little effort. Here's a great example of it. Eat meat guilt-free, delicious, by the way. So the example to the left, you can't read the text here. Hopefully, if you download it, you can, but very simple. Thanks for making your first purchase with us. The example to the right, hey, it's repeat customers like you that help us survive and help us live. And one simple message, slight tweaks, different audience. And now let's start thinking about, okay, we've got them on the hook. We're delivering some value for them. We're being personal with our brand. These are things our competitors are not doing. Now, this is your foundation. Think about any other message you might want to send that can help reinforce your brand and start building that brand affinity. And there is no shortage of types of messages. Here's the beauty though. Chances are most of the content for those messages you already have. So let me show you a couple examples of what that might look like. So let's go back to baking steel. Baking steel, I mentioned, it's a cooking product, right? We're going to make pizzas on there. We're going to make some dough, some breadsticks, whatever. They also sell griddles. They sell accessories. Here's the rest of that post-purchase experience. Now me, I bought a baking steel. Am I a pizza chef? No way. I don't know how to make dough. All right. So their first message, top 2 recipes of all time. They have this 72-hour pizza dough. They're going to help me use the product. And the other recipe is the best pizza sauce ever. These are 2 things I've never done. But now I'm making pizza dough and I'm trying it out. But it's helping me utilize the product better. They're not asking me to buy anything. It's great. Love messages like this. Product care was the next one. How to clean and care for your product. I love it, right? You could sell a $3 product and send a product care instruction or a message like this, and it builds inherent value in your brand. So do you sell sneakers or shoes where you can sell waterproofing spray, intimate apparels where you can sell a lingerie bag or a wash bag, right? There's all these opportunities for cross sell, but you can see both of these messages aren't asking me to buy anything. They're asking me to take better care or use the product better. They both convert 200 times better than promotional messages, and they're not even trying to sell me something. So if we think about, if we provide value to the customer and we use our brand voice, how we can then go ahead and start capturing this retention and start building brand affinity here. Now, the last thing I want to show you today as far as the emails go is a product review message, because there's some opportunities here as well. Oftentimes we just send the product review message. It doesn't really help the customer at all, but there are ways to make this a little bit better. So let's circle back to Eat Meat Guilt Free here. You could see the conversion rates for product review messages at 13% for last year, right? These are people that are reviewing products, but they're purchasing from there. So this is a nice example, right? We put some nice images in here. We ask them to review a product, which we can then use that user-generated content for social proof and welcome messages and promo messages and lapsed purchase for top-rated products and testimonials. But they also have an incentive here. Hey, we know this is a consumable product, so if you want to come back and purchase, leave a review, and we'll also give you an incentive here to come back. So it's just another way to kind of spin this cycle a little bit to say, okay, we're going to give you some value. We're going to ask you to do a little bit for us with this review as well, but we'll also give you something as well. So there's so many opportunities, and you just need to figure out what type of messaging is right for your brand. And you can see with all these examples, the care for the recipes. These are all things that they already had on their website. It's just repurposing the content they have into the message. And now finally, here is a kind of a gold mine. If you're not doing SMS quite yet, certainly get into it. It's a rising channel. We sent more than almost 400% more SMS last year than we did the year before. It's on the rise, but look at the conversion rates. As we send more, consumers are adopting it even more, and they're converting from. And this is really important here as well. So think about how SMS can complement your post-purchase and your marketing things. So obviously, order and shipping confirmations via SMS, intimate, timely, excellent for you there. But also it's more intimate. So you could send a thank you message. We talked about just one of those bounce backs. Thanks for a recent order. Thanks for being a repeat customer. Let us know if we could do something for you. First time customers, how about a check-in message, right? If they're opted into SMS, hey, it's a check-in. So, 3 weeks later, hey, thanks for your first purchase. Everything going okay? Let us know if we can help in any way, right? These are all things that enhance the customer purchase experience with you. And if you implement one message at a time, let it run, and just iterate and optimize and add to whatever fits your brand, you are going to increase your customer retention. You're going to increase your sales, and you're going to do it without the workload. So very quickly, just a real quick takeaway, don't overthink it, right? You could see these messages I showed you for a very specific purpose were very simplistic. They were not overly complex. They didn't need a lot of creative juices to it. So just don't overthink it, and think about using automation, using those multiple channels, but more importantly, be authentic and be helpful to your customers. If you help your customers utilize your product, care for your products, speak to them like people, they're gonna tell their friends about it. They're gonna share it on Instagram. They're gonna do all these things that ultimately help build that retention and affinity. And the baking steel and Eat Meat Guilt Free, the examples I showed here, we have customer successes on our website that just talk about how we help them from an automation standpoint, types of messages they're doing, and how they're using that for retention as well. So hopefully there's some nuggets in here to take away for you. But if you have any questions on this, just drop me an email. I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it.
Greg, that was superb, and I have to say I'm feeling sorry for anyone watching this in the US live who skipped breakfast, because right now they are so hungry. So apologies to all of you if you skip breakfast this morning, or if you're in the UK and you haven't had lunch yet. We're sorry, because
I might make a pizza tonight. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I like that. I love the food going through that session. Now, I've got a couple of questions we're going to run through in a moment or two, Greg. But before we do that, let's just reiterate that if anyone's got any questions, they should get in contact with you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And if I'm not the person to answer your questions, I'll direct you to whoever it is. We're friendly folks over here.
Excellent. Well, we'll leave your email address there just for a second or two for anyone who still wants to jot it down. What I thought was what I love most about your presentation, because as I said at the beginning, I am totally bought into the power of post-purchase emails, but I think a lot of the time we talk about them as being a relationship builder, but the stats you share show they are driving more sales. Even the thank you for your order, was it 20% conversion rate of people coming back and buying again? So given those amazing sales data they can get this, why do you think it is that so many retailers are just failing to tap into this brilliant area for generating those repeat purchases?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it's somewhat counterintuitive to your first point there as well, as why a thank you message a day or two after purchase would lead to more purchases, because they just purchased, right? And I led the conversation saying, well, don't send them promotional messages afterward, right? They just bought from you. But it's somewhat counterintuitive. And I think it says the importance of, if you speak to them the right way, right? There might be this accessory item, or they're still excited about the purchase as well, right? They haven't received the product yet, so maybe they want to buy a gift or something else. So that's one side of it. The second side is, like, why is it underutilized, and why are brands overlooking it? And I think it comes down to importance, right? When I was consulting, I would have this conversation with clients all the time. They say, okay, we want to do a lapsed purchaser message because we want to target purchasers. They've spent money with us. And I would look at it and go, wait, this is, to me, counterintuitive. Focus on your post-purchase first, because what you're doing with lapsed purchasers, and by the way, you should have a lapsed purchaser series, get this back in the fold. So I'm not thrown under the bus, but they've already lapsed, or they're close to lapsing based on your time. So they have already chosen not to come back, or on the verge of not coming back. Post-purchase is the opportunity to strike while the iron's hot and prevent the lapse, right? And that's what we're doing. And if we can generate more revenue from preventing the lapse, right? It's always better to be proactive than reactive, in most cases.
I know what you mean. It's like, let's go after the biggest opportunity. And I always find it so crazy that people aren't leveraging this, because my existence in e-commerce started off running catalog mailings for a UK retailer. And our two best performing segments were the people who bought in the last 6 months, and the bounce back catalogs, which was the copy of the catalog we put in the parcel and sent to the person with their product. Those two generated more orders than anything else. And because we didn't have postage on the one in the parcels, the ROI was amazing. And it seems, like this is something the mail order industry is known for the last 100 years. But somehow in the digital world, we've gone, no, we're going to do clever things with lapsed. It's like, no, do the simple stuff, people.
Well, here's the cool thing with, like, the examples I showed during the presentation today. They weren't overly complex. You don't need a team of creative, like, wizards and graphic design. While it's perfectly great to do that as well, you don't need it to do. And you don't necessarily need to have a 10 message lapse post-purchase series sending before you target your lapsed purchasers. Think about that simple thank you message, and think about one other message that follows it. Automate it, and then you can shift your attention to lapsed purchase and do the same repetitive process there. A couple messages, build out that series, but you have these things going in the background while you're doing these things. And I think that's a really important point to make is, one message at a time, get it going. It doesn't have to be complex. You'll start to see dividends there, but it allows you to make that focus. Now, one of the things you can look at too, right? This is going to be a little bit brand specific, product specific, right? Life cycles for types of products you're selling. But in the Omnisend dashboard, we have this breakdown. It's there for you, and it says, okay, this is the number of people who are on the verge of churning. This is the number of people who have recently purchased from you. These are the people that are repeat customers, blah blah blah. So if you look at that and say, okay, lapse purchase, we are getting killed over here. We have so many people, and our post purchase isn't that much. That might be the indication to say, okay, let's get a couple lapse purchase going, and then we'll flip over to the post purchase, nurture them. But you have to follow where your audience is as well. And I think that's the one thing where a couple simple segments, no matter what email provider you're using, you can create those and figure out where your breakdown sits. Chances are you're going to have more lapse than recent purchasers, but hopefully that's not the case because you're driving revenue. But always an important thing to look at. Just create a couple segments and figure out where that sits.
The other particular email I really liked that you showed us there was the one, which again, this is something I think a lot of people overlook, was the one asking for the review. Because I think a lot of people, they implement the review system and they just let the review system deal with that email. And it's like, why wouldn't you bring it, and it's probably the branding that an intern set up 5 years ago. So it's all totally wrong. And any link that does come to your site that's not the review one probably breaks. It's like, why do you not, given the tech we've got these days, why don't you just bring it into the fold, make it part of it, make it something that's visible? And I love that the example you showed, they had, it's time for your next purchase. So they're being really clear there, going, can't be asked to leave us a review, just buy. We'll let you buy rather than review. And I thought that was both a lovely email and a really good point of bring it into the fold.
And I think that's the one thing too, is if any companies are listening to this and they say, okay, we don't discount, right? It might be a luxury brand or you don't have the margins. I think the important takeaway to your point there, Chloe, is, all right, what's the other call to action? I'm a person that never leaves reviews. I very rarely, if ever, leave reviews, but I don't mind the messages, right? They're going to come to me. It's part of the process. I get it, but provide a second call to action in there as well. And that could be to, maybe I don't leave a review, but I'll tag on Instagram with my purchase, right? So maybe that second call to action is go to Instagram and share a product usage or something, or it doesn't have to be to shop, right? So if you can incentivize, think about, again, what works for your brand, provide a second call to action. So if nothing else, you send a message like that to someone like me who doesn't review, the message doesn't go to waste. There's something for me to do there. If I don't click on either of the two things, that's fine, right? It's just not for me. But put a second call to action there. It could be to shop, could be to go to Instagram, could be to do whatever.
Excellent. Well, look, Greg, we're going to have to wrap it up there. So I just want to make it clear to everybody, if you want to get the full-size slides that Greg went through with those examples and with all those stats, you can download them somewhere on this page that we're talking on right now. So don't worry, you can go and grab those right now. And Greg, thank you so much for coming on and giving us such a clear set of both why and how to improve our post-purchase emails. It was brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Chloe. Appreciate it.
And we should also just quickly, before we say goodbye, say if you want to get in contact with Greg, you can do that via greg@omnisend.com. Thanks, Greg. Well, huge thanks to Greg for joining us and kicking off day 2 in style, and to Omnisend for being one of our sponsors, because quite frankly, without the sponsors' support, we wouldn't be able to make this event free for you all, which would give me the pain of trying to sell tickets and mean you'd have had to stump up some cash to be here. So huge thanks to all our sponsors. If you've enjoyed this session, please do share it on social media. The buttons are right in front of you. And if you know someone who needs to watch this session, then you can invite them to watch it later, because the replays are available for every single session in this event. Just because day 2 is going to end in a couple of hours doesn't mean the learning has to stop. On the right-hand side of this page, you will find Greg's slide deck and also a link to find out more about Omnisend. We are producing an ebook of this summit, which includes my team's notes on each session, screen grabs of key slides, resources and offers mentioned, plus my recommendations of where to go to learn more, so what to do next. If you're watching on replay, it should be available to download on this page right now. If you're watching live, we'll be emailing it to you on Thursday. So watch out for that, because that's a really useful resource. I think it's going to help you over the next coming months and may lead to you nipping back in to watch a couple of these sessions again, or even watch some new ones. Now, if you enjoyed this session, we have several more email marketing sessions today. Unsurprising, quite frankly, as it's Customer Retention Day. So stick around for everything. Up next, we are catching up with eCommerce MasterPlan crew member Matt Edmondson, who's talking about ways to build customer retention with real world stuff. None of this technical jiggery pokery. To find Matt's session, head back to agenda, click on the session, and it will be starting at past. And of course, don't forget to join our live Q&A panel at the end of today's content. Okay, I'll see you in the next session.
You have a product you're passionate about, and now's the time to grow your online sales. Klaviyo can help. Klaviyo is the ultimate marketing platform for growing online sales. Build higher value customer relationships using email automation, SMS marketing, and list growth tools. Turn your dream into a reality with a free Klaviyo account.